Shall we start mine?
Yes, please.
Well, Auzubillahi minash shaitanir rajeem. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Good evening, everyone. This is Dr. Asma, a marine botanist. I did PhD from Department of Botany, University of Karachi. I welcome all the participants to Professor Dr. Shameel Memorial International Webinar on Climate Change, Environment and Blue Entrepreneurship. This program, this webinar would be in collaboration with WomenAscension, Research Draft, and Aquapreneur. I will explain the motive of Aquapreneur in later shortly. And first, I would like to invite Dr. Alia Rahman to say a few words about Professor Dr. Mustafa Shameel and how we started this journey after the death of Professor Dr. Mustafa Shameel. Please, Dr. Alia Rahman.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Thank you, Asma, for giving me this opportunity. First of all, I would like to introduce myself. I'm Professor Dr. Alia Rahman, have been teaching at the Karachi University for the last 28 years. And I specialize in marine botany and especially the natural product chemistry of seaweeds. I am proudly saying that Dr. Asma Tabassum is my student. She did her PhD with me. And she is one of those students, although many students have completed their PhD with me, but I am truly proud of Dr. Asma Tabassum and all the achievements that she's done in this field. And I really feel proud of how she has groomed to be such an excellent scholar and a researcher. Thank you, Asma, for making me proud. It is truly a great experience to be part of this webinar as we are once again gathered here to honor our beloved teacher and mentor, Professor Dr. Mustafa Shameel. It is my pleasure to welcome Dr. Mark Friedman and his team who are joining us from USA. I will just give a short background about this series of seminars which we have been conducting for the last 8 years. This is the 8th seminar we are conducting to honor our beloved teacher, Professor Dr. Mustafa Shameel, who left us for his heavenly abode in May 2013. Dr. Shameel was not only a great researcher, a teacher par excellence, but above that, he was a great human being who shaped and touched the lives of so many of his students and everyone around him. His exemplary personality will always be remembered by all who came across him at any time and place. He was a person that cannot be forgotten. If you ever met him, even for a short time, he was a person who left a mark with you. His academic endeavors were also exemplary for all. He authored 330 scientific publications in journals of international.
Dr. Alia, we can't hear you.
You can't hear me?
Now we can.
Okay. So he passed away peacefully at his residence in Karachi on 13th May 2013. He is survived by his wife, Dr. Suraya Shameel, and 2 daughters, Dr. Simi Khalik and Dr. Nausheen Fahad. So this was just a short introduction of the seminars and
there is some distortion.
We will keep doing it until we can. And can you hear me now, Asma?
Yes, now we can.
Can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
The Zoom meet always a little apprehensive about them. A seminar, and this was
I think Dr. Alia left. It happens in Zoom meetings. I think she is about to join us shortly.
Asma.
Yes, madam. Now we can hear you. There's some problem in, I think, internet connection.
I think enough and good luck the way. I'm here with you.
Thank you very much. Now I would like to request Ms. Mahin, representing WomenAscension, to can you please share slides so I can brief it out about the Aquapreneur. Thank you, Mahin. Yes, thank you. So this webinar is conducting in collaboration with WomenAscension, Aquapreneur, and Research Draft. As Dr. Alia said, that it is our 8th webinar, though before that we have conducted in-person, assemblage of researchers and faculty members. Mahin, please change the slide. Can you please? Yes. So Aquapreneur basically is a forum to gather all the innovative researchers. Those have different ideas, different research ideas, and they are working on problem-based solutions. So this is a community or a forum which has been developed to, to provide support in terms of to transform their, research ideas into an enterprise. So we can provide different trainings regarding the businesses of international market. And next slide, please. And our vision. Next slide, Mahin. So our vision is to providing help in transforming aqua science innovations into different enterprises. As we know that, please, the next slide. There are a lot of startups which are based on aquatic environment. Some are, for example, Zero Avia. They are working on emission hydrogen powertrain for airplanes. So there are a number of startups which are based on the problems, as we can say that the United Nations has proposed 17 different sustainable development goals, in which one is climate change, environment, and all these. We have to empower our youth towards to transform their business ideas. Please, next slide. Quickly, you can move forward. So, for example, fish monitoring is another startup, which is international-based startup like Smart Fishing. They work on AI-driven system to accumulate information about salmon migration in the sea and predicts possible lice outbreaks. Next, similarly, we can say AMP robotics. They are also AI-powered robotic system that can recycle waste. So this is the problem of this era, that as we have invited Mark as well, he will share his better insights about the plastics, what they are doing in the mess they are creating in our aquatic bodies, especially in oceanic environment. Next slide. These kind of startups like Modular Stack, they are portable. As Pakistan recently has faced a lot of problem in terms of flood, so they can provide a portable house, a solution to the poor people. They can utilize them in the climate change crisis. Next. Similarly, Code Green PK, this is a Pakistani-based startup, an eco-friendly e-commerce platform. Code Green offers a one-stop solution for greener alternatives to single-use plastic products. As I told you earlier that one of our students also worked on biodegradable films, which were based on marine resources that are called seaweeds. So there are a lot of solutions. These researchers, marine scientists, they can propose it. Next. So through this community as Trash It, so it is also a problem solving, startup that are predicting zero waste management lifestyle through a line of green products. They also, in addition to this, they reuse kitchen waste and paper scraps to make organic compost, which they process in their in-house facility. So these kind of solutions, they can be, as we can say, that the researchers, they are very good in scientific, knowledge, but they don't know how to make a business plan for their problem solving, what the solution they are proposing by the end of their, research, academic research activities. So why you join this community? First of all, we can provide you networking through these kind of webinars. We can provide your mentorship, as many of the mentors are with us. Those can help you out in transforming your basic idea into a real business. So we can provide virtual incubation through this platform, and business opportunities, joint ventures, and collaborations as well. We can also pave the way and provide the opportunities to explore new markets, both locally and globally. So these kind of facilities, they can help the researchers to enhance the value to the customers, how they can find customers to build a relationship with the local, people who are suffering from all these environmental pollution and all these type of things. So we can support to the systemize the business, their businesses, access to investment and funding as well. And we can also provide support in finding co-founders, getting investments, and turning the idea into businesses. So a startup mentorship and finding new clients as well. So these kind of networking event, boot camps, we can have multiple boot camps on to cater all the young innovators who are in the field of marine science, marine botany, zoology, and other related fields, aqua and freshwater environment as well. So this forum is specifically not only for students, but also the faculty members, those are involved in these kind of real-time problems and enhance their, capabilities towards the problem-solving solution. So thank you very much from my side. After that, I would like to invite Mark Friedman. He is marine science educator. He has been a presenter in many marine science and environmental conferences. He involved in developing marine science biology courses His special interests are to carry out research education and action campaigning around ocean plastic pollution. He's also a recipient of many scientific awards. I think a lot more I can say, but today Mark is with us to discuss the crisis in the oceans with plastic pollution and solutions, impact of global climate change on marine ecosystems and solutions. Please, over to you, Mark.
Thank you very much, Dr. Asma, for inviting me. Thank you, all those attending. It is my sincere honor and pleasure to participate in this conversation with you. All of you know a lot more about the entrepreneurial campaigns. Your program is very impressive, and I salute you in these efforts to move these new projects, these new science possibilities into the mainstream, because I think that is a challenge for all of us to go from small startups to mainstream enterprises to begin to change what is happening with the plastic pollution and the other issues facing the climate change crisis, the crisis of ocean acidification, et cetera. I am more from the field of education, so I want to talk a little bit about the importance of educating the youth of our nations, because they're the ones that will change this. Of course, we will be mentors along the way, but if there's one rule that I found, it's that we must bring politics and science together. They are not divorced. Too often, scientists and researchers think about their research in the abstract. And we know every day there are headlines and articles about the climate crisis, about the problems with ocean plastic pollution. And these become divorced from the reality of the political situation and the political campaigns that we must mount with our students, with the youth, with environmental groups, with entrepreneurs to change governmental and corporate policy. That's the challenge. Today, they say that less than 5% of plastic is recycled. That's a contradiction between what is possible for recycling of plastic and the reality of what is. Over my years working with students and attending conferences, we have seen that there are scores of innovative ways to reuse plastic. There's an organization in Chile that is taking old fishing nets rather than just being heaps on the docks or ghost nets, what they call nets that are just let loose and float in the ocean and trap marine organisms. They're now melting them down and making them into skateboards. Starbucks, we're all familiar with, produces millions of cups every single day. However, the inner lining of a Starbucks cup is plastic, so it cannot be recycled, let alone the lid. This is true with many cups that serve hot drinks. So they can more easily now be lined with carbohydrate or calcium derivatives that are dissolvable over time, that are recyclable. So again, the science is there, and all of you are part of that effort in eliminating that contradiction between what is possible and the science that exists, and forcing those in corporate America, corporate Pakistan, corporations around the world to act. I want to show a couple of minutes of a video clip of some of our students that teach on the tall ships. But what they do is to teach about marine biology and ecology. They talk about ocean plastic pollution. They talk about ocean acidification. And they also zoom into classrooms. And we are also able to do that from afar here if you're interested. All of these resources that I'm showing are available for free at the LA Maritime Institute website. And we'll post that information. I have posted an entire course there on marine bio, marine science, entire units on ocean plastic pollution that includes everything from articles to Jeopardy games to PowerPoints to innovations, etc. So, Dr. Asma, can you start that YouTube? We'll start it at minute 2 if we can, and just run a couple minutes.
Yes.
Thank you. So I think you can jump to 2 minutes if possible there.
We are high school.
There you go.
Hello, my name is Kevin.
And my name is Jose.
We are high school seniors in the LA district.
And today we're going to be talking about a little bit of ecology, and we're going to be talking about microplastics and more specifically how they impact human organs and other marine organisms.
So first, we gotta know what a microplastic is. So a microplastic is any type of plastic smaller than 5 microns. So here we have styrofoam. So if you look at it from this way, it's very tiny, so you can't really tell how much it is. So this would be considered a microplastic. There's also macroplastic, which, for example, there's this bottle cap, which is a much more bigger piece of plastic. So microplastics start off just like any other plastic, so water bottles, caps, anything like that. And the way they become smaller is through the ultraviolet rays from the sunlight when they get direct impact, or when they're early in the ocean and the waves hit directly onto them, which makes them break down into smaller pieces. There's also synthetic type of microplastics in facial cleansers or in other hygiene products, but which are luckily now banned, which took effect last year.
Microplastics and plastics can enter any type of environment, including the surface of the ocean, for example. They can also be found within the actual waters of the ocean, and they can be found on the sand. For example, on a windy day, those plastics can eventually travel through the surface of the water and make it onto our beaches, and unfortunately we end up with contamination such as the picture shown here.
So first we are going to show you our sample of a sand sample of Long Beach sand. So here we took this directly off of the coastline. So if you take a look here, like I already showed, there's a big bottle cap, there's styrofoam, there's bark, which is natural, there's also little shells, which is natural, but what you could take a closer look at is, if you take a very close look, you're going to start seeing these small little circles. Some of them are spears, some of them black, most of them are white, some of them are gray. And what these are they're called nurdles, and nurdles are basically the starting form of all plastic, which companies ship out to different areas so they could melt them and make them into anything they want. So for example, they'll get these clear little nurdles and they'll melt them into plastic bottles, or they'll get these black ones and they'll melt it to make the chairs for schools and such things. So if you take a closer look at the sample, there's a lot of things that are biotic and abiotic. So biotic is anything that's living, so we're biotic. Animals are biotic. Anything that basically has a heartbeat or is living is biotic, versus abiotic, which is something that is non-living. For example, plastic. Here's another piece. More styrofoam.
And then next up we're going to talk about how this impacts our humans. So the easiest way to explain it is through a process called bioaccumulation. And simply put, let's say you eat, for example, a fish, let's say a salmon, right? So you eat the salmon, but then the salmon could have potentially eaten a piece of this plastic. So theoretically what can happen is you're not only eating the salmon, you're also eating the plastic that's within the salmon. And so why is this bad? Well, this can be mostly bad for 2 reasons. One, I mean, you don't really want plastic in your seafood, but the second reason is a lot more harmful, and it's because a lot of people don't really know this, but BPA is one of the main chemicals found in plastic nowadays, and BPA stands for bisphenol A, and it's basically a toxin, which Kevin will talk a little bit more about later, but essentially it's a chemical that makes plastic a lot more hard and a lot more able to use. So for example, this pistachio ice cream this pistachio ice cream container could have potentially had BPA inside of it, and so that's why after it becomes microplastic such as a nurdle, after it gets ingested and it enters into your body, that's when a lot of the times it can cause a lot of harmful effects such as hormone disruptors. So for example, estrogen and testosterone, and however BPA has mostly been found to affect the estrogen. And what that means is that plastic and the BPA actually mimics as estrogen, and it can kind of cause a lot of different hormone disruptions within your body.
So like Jose said, there's a lot of things that are harmful about plastic. Another thing is the accumulation of toxins. So in this lesson, we're talking about chemical toxins, and one of them is BPA, which Jose just explained. But there are other toxins such as DDE and NP, which are also found in the ocean. Oil spills, dumping of illegal things off boats, many things like that causes toxins to enter the ocean, and plastic is basically a magnet for all these toxins. So the toxins basically accumulate on plastic, and if fish start eating these plastics and then we start eating the fish, those same toxins are going to enter us. Another example is this sample of a gyre. So a gyre is basically the currents of the ocean, and there's 5 of them in the entire world, and the Alaskan currents come down to the Pacific and then they go back up to the
Dr. Asma, I
Atlantic.
think we can stop there
basically
if you
like
want.
a whole system of
Yes,
currents in the ocean.
Maheen,
And
please.
here is a sample of one of those gyres. So if Jose opens it up, and we can take a look of what's inside.
Well, as you guys can see here, we have a lot of different plastics. Here we actually have a liquid beverage container, and then here we have a couple of corn nuts, a couple of snacks. But here we also have this piece of styrofoam, which you guys can see right there. Now, the reason why styrofoam is actually one of the most harmful is because, let's take this small piece right here, for example. If we were to break this into smaller pieces, to a fish or an albatross, for example, this can look like a fish egg, and a lot of the times fish eat these, and a lot of other different marine
Maheen, can you hear me?
and think that they're fish eggs. And so what can happen is they end up.
Thank you. That video and many others are available for free to show students in the classrooms. These were young high school students. I believe that peer education is so important. Young people learning from other young people is critical, so it's not just a top-down education. One of those significant young people in the world to me is Greta Thunberg, who have made a campaign around climate change a challenge to the world. I'm sure maybe have heard of her. Young people have definitely heard of her. She's organized massive rallies in Glasgow at the last climate change conference. I want to quote just 2 paragraphs from her. "It is not a secret that COP26 is a failure. It should be obvious that we cannot solve a crisis with the same methods that got us into it in the first place. And more people are starting to realize this. Many are starting to ask themselves, what will it take for the people in power to wake up? But let's be clear, they are already awake. They know exactly what they are doing. They know exactly what priceless values they are sacrificing to maintain business as usual. The leaders are not doing anything. They are actively creating loopholes and shaping frameworks to benefit themselves and to continue profiting from this destructive system. This is an active choice by the leaders to continue to let the exploitation of people and nature and the destruction of present and future living conditions to take place. This is not a conference referring to the COP26, and it'll be the same in the one that opens in Egypt this week. This is now a Global North Greenwash Festival, a 2-week-long celebration of business as usual and blah, blah, blah. The most affected people in the most affected areas still remain unheard, and the voices of future generations are drowning in their greenwash and empty words and promises. But the facts do not lie, and we know that our emperors are naked. This climate crisis, whether it be climate change, whether we look at ocean acidification that takes place when carbon particulates merge with the surface layer of the water, forming carbonic acid, which then impacts the construction of marine organism shells. For example, the shells of various arthropods, whether that be shrimp, lobsters, or bivalves like clams or oysters, other mollusks that can no longer form shells in their juvenile stages because of the acidic content of the ocean. This is just a side effect. We all know about the destruction of the coral reefs. That's from global climate change, warming waters, runoff from construction, invasive species, the inability of marine organisms to confront viruses, bacteria, etc. All of these are tied to what's called the anthropogenic impact of what we humans are doing to the climate and to the oceans. There is some hope, however. There have been efforts all around the world to begin to deal with ocean plastic pollution and ocean acidification. But the pace at which it is going at is not going to get us near where we need to be. Every day, and I'm sure in Pakistan also, there are front page headlines about the climate crisis. Let's see, I want to share one of them here. I'm sorry.
Do you want to share anything?
Yes.
Have you sent it to me?
Oh, let me see if I can share it. No.
A document?
It's a picture. Here we go. No, well. Sorry. Students are much better at this than I am.
Have you sent it to me, Mark?
This one I haven't. Let me see if I can just put it in here.
Can you please WhatsApp me and
Here it is. Here it is. I got it. Okay. So this is just came out today. So irreversible climate breakdown. We've all seen these studies, and unfortunately, if we go at the current pace, the same thing will happen. This, however, another article in Science magazine, once again shows that the science exists. This is a combination of oxidation and use of bacteria that break down plastics. There are worms that break down plastics. All of these are small efforts, as are recycling efforts. However, the point is that the science and technology exist to begin to change. Lastly, I want to share this one, if I can figure out again. So out of Cuba, there is some hope, as there is from other countries, but these are small efforts. Cuba has been a victim of climate change, but they have begun to make some radical changes. For example, they have moved 32,000 people who lived near the ocean, near the shores, built them brand new houses and moved them away from the shores. They have moved agriculture up the mountains where the climate is cooler. And they have planted mangroves wherever possible, especially on the southern part of the island. This is a link. I urge you to consider watching it, showing it to your students, about a documentary that Helen Yaffe, an internationally known environmentalist, this was presented at the Climate Change Conference, the last one in Glasgow. It's called Cuba's Life Task, and it's what they have done to try and deal with climate change impacting their island. And the bottom is information for me if you require any further conversation or to continue Zoom calls, or if you would like resources. So let me stop there. I'm very interested in hearing others and having a discussion about how we can blend politics, entrepreneurships, and science in order to help advance the cause to dealing with climate change and essentially the survival of humanity. Once the ocean goes, humanity goes. Not only for the food that comes from the ocean, but the weather, which is in large part in the world controlled by the ocean. So thank you very much. I hope I didn't take too much time.
Thank you very much, Mark. And very true what you have highlighted, the points, as there are a lot of solutions. I have a question to you. You are working very hard, and a lot of time, I think I knew it in 2016 that you are working on my microplastics and ocean plastics solution. So what are the hurdles behind if we want to provide a solution towards, or we can share an alternative of synthetic plastic? But why these synthetic plastics hasn't been banned yet? Why other solutions hasn't been implemented yet? In your point of view, what are the hurdles and barriers in these, kind of initiative?
Yeah, I will attempt to answer that, but I would also like to hear from those of you in Pakistan, the challenges that you are facing and the hurdles. I believe that the number one problem is the stranglehold that the oil companies have over politics and over economics, especially in the US, I'm sure similarly in Pakistan. A good example is what's been happening the past couple of months with the war in the Ukraine and the supply chain of food, of oil resources being challenged. So not a drop of oil from the Ukraine comes to California. Yet the California oil companies raised the price of gasoline $1.50 to $2 per gallon, okay, which is an extreme hardship. They did this based upon the fear that people have that there will not be enough gas or oil, so they can use that and charge whatever they want. Meanwhile, the governments, both statewide and federal, have done absolutely nothing in an attempt to put a price freeze on these oil companies and what they can charge. This, to me, is a clear example of corporate rule over the US government. And possibly examples like that exist from Pakistan. But the oil companies give hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars to all different politicians to buy their vote. That's why there's been no challenge. Here in California, communities, especially of Black and Latino families, have been battling emissions from uncapped oil wells that are causing asthma, nosebleeds, etc., of young people. And there's nothing done by the government. What I have seen in my life is that the mobilizations and education that must precede that is what is absolutely necessary in order to win any advances. We can write letters all we want in the US and it doesn't mean anything. We can write petitions all we want and it doesn't mean anything. But it is our collective action, working with trade unions, with NGOs, with environmental groups, with youth organizations, and for us as teachers, researchers, to get out of our ivory towers and to work with these other organizations to bring science to the people so they can understand it, but also to explain why people need to be mobilized through our unions and organizations to bring about change. I am only familiar with the history in the US, but every major social movement, the fight for women's rights, affirmative action, labor struggles, environmental issues, civil rights, have all been won through social struggles. None of them have been given to us. None of them have come about by votes in Congress or Senate, but it has been our mobilizations that have forced change at the top. Lastly, I want to say that all of the entrepreneurship, the development of new techniques on recycling, everything else, are unfortunately at this point still fringe enterprises. There's a company out here that recycles 1 million plastic bottles a month. And they clean them, they wash them, they melt them down, and they reproduce nurdles that are then sold at the same level, the same cost as the virgin plastic from the oil companies. This is very important for recycling, but it is only one company in one state. So how do we bring all of the entrepreneur skills and science into the mainstream? That's the challenge for all of us in whatever country we live in. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. I think these are the crises what in Pakistan we are also facing. The similar things and similar issues related to government. There is less interest of the industries to take the alternative solutions of these synthetic plastics. As I want to share that one of our research group under the supervision of Dr. Ali Rahman, we have developed an alternative solution of synthetic plastics, and we pitched that idea in front of industrialists, in front of investors, but they were not interested in taking all these initiatives, and they didn't want to support the local solutions, what we can provide to the community. It is our duty, I think, what I can feel, that it is a duty of every citizen to work on it. And we should take that initiatives in terms of these kind of awareness seminars, these kind of awareness talks, awareness campaigns, as you are running in US as well. We can initiate it. And I can say that the floor is open and anyone can, take part in this conversation. You can join us. And I would also
Asma,
like to, yes, ma'am.
Asma, okay, I have some few questions and also something to say about this very informative talk that we just heard from Mark. Mark, I just want to let you know that Pakistan is a very big victim of climate change. We recently had the most catastrophic floods in our country, which has destroyed thousands and thousands of acres of agricultural land, and our crops have been completely destroyed. It has displaced millions of people, and thousands have died in these recent floods that have been definitely due to climate change. We, as a country, are trying to cope with it, but it is extremely difficult. We have challenges, and as we see that most of the NGOs are working for people up there who have been destroyed by these floods. Also, climate change is such an important aspect that people have, in this country at least, I know, have just heard about it. But this year, we really, really were hit hard by what the climate has done to our country. And I think this will be a continuous process as we don't, because nothing is being done about it. So we, as citizens of this country, need to take part actively in doing whatever we can in our capacity. If we are researchers, we have to do it with our research students. We have to raise awareness about all these different aspects which are polluting the oceans, polluting the cities, and polluting our country. So we are trying, and we are trying our best, but with the limited resources that we have. But we pray to God that we will come to a solution, and we will, with the international community coming, a lot of aid has come in from the international community for our country, for providing relief to people who have suffered through these losses. But also, we think that what we do is that we try to bring up projects, as Dr. Asma just mentioned, that we made this biodegradable plastic in our labs, and our students have researched in it. They have completed their PhDs, their MPhils, doing that, and we pitched it against to investors as to we can use this in different ways of life. But people are so engrossed in the different problems that they are facing right now, and the industrialists are not ready to take up these projects. But we will keep trying, and we will keep working hard so that we can come across with some relevant solutions. And your talk is extremely valuable, and I think it's a great effort by Dr. Asma also to get in touch with you and to get you here so that we can talk about this very important issue. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Alia. And you are absolutely right that providing relief and taking aids is not a solution. We should go for a long-lasting solution towards this, aspect of climate change, what we are facing currently. Anyone else can join this conversation. Dr. Laila is also with us. If she will join, it would be a great pleasure. Any comments from Dr. Laila?
While she's thinking about speaking, thank you very much for that contribution that was just made. The global South will face the biggest crisis from climate change. The global South faces the biggest crisis in ocean plastic pollution, the overfishing, ocean acidification, destruction of coral reefs, the lack of protein supplies that come from the ocean, which are enormous but have been dramatically reduced. 90% of all big fish are gone. They've been fished out. So there will be a food crisis on top of that. California is experiencing a 25-year drought. However, the powers that be refuse to build desalination plants, right? And you've got several hundred miles of coastline. There are options for electricity. There are wave generating electricity machines. There's solar, there's wind turbines. But there is such minimal investment in these because of the stranglehold that the oil companies have over our economies. And that's why the industrialists won't invest. They can't compete, or else they're paid off not to invest in alternatives to oil or biodegradable plastic or whatever. I think by comparison, and I'm so sorry for the devastation that climate change has witnessed upon Pakistan. A contrary example is Cuba that gets hit annually with these hurricanes. They mobilize and move every person, every dog, every cat, every chicken, every pig away from the hurricane. They cannot stop the hurricane, but there is such minimal loss of life versus the same hurricane, Ian, that hit the west coast of Florida that resulted in massive damage and 117 people dead. There is no effort to evacuate the people in the US when it is hit by a hurricane. So there's a good example of two different countries, two different social economic systems, and how they respond to an impact by climate change or a natural disaster. The aid that Pakistan gets is important, but it is minimal compared to what is needed. I'm sure you'll agree. It is dealing with helping out, but not dealing with the problem. There are no efforts to deal with the climate change by the major capitalist countries, by the imperialist centers of the world, Europe and the United States, and now the massive developments in China. For those of us in the US, it's a question of going beyond the elections. You know, there are elections every few years and you vote in someone who promises to do something and then they don't do it. And then you're stuck with that person. And more of us are beginning to realize that we need to reject the major capitalist parties. In this country, it's the Democrats and Republicans, and move towards forming a new political party based on the trade unions, women's groups, environmental groups, progressive organizations that can challenge for power, that can mobilize people, that through, as you said, through education and action, we can change society. Because fundamentally, that's what we need to do. So if it isn't obvious by now, I'm a socialist. And I believe we need a radical transformation of governments on a worldwide scale in order to really save humanity, because it is a question of socialism or barbarism and the destruction of the planet and ecosystems.
Just so true, Mark, as we all are victims of these kind of, I think all these things are politically controlled. And we, being an educationist, being a scientist, can't do or unable to provide any solution, any solution to these kind of, problematic things which are pertaining to our social life and communities. So, Mahin, do you want to share anything or do you want to contribute to this important topic, as you are also working on to uplift the water crisis and all these?
Thank you, Dr. Asma, and thank you, Mr. Mark and Dr. Alia. I learned a lot, and in that situation, that what's going on when related to this climate crisis. But I have a different perspective when it's come to dealing with such crisis. I don't know if you guys agree with me, the audience over here. It's not just up to the politics or people in power. It's us. And if I take the scenario of my city, Karachi, and in the comparison of the area I belong, that's the northern areas of Pakistan, that's quite remote area. When you compare them, the essence of taking responsibility to where they are living, taking care of their home, the place, you can see that the people of that remote area is more responsible towards cleanliness and taking care of their belongings than that of the city, the metropolitan city that I am currently residing. And what I believe now, since we do take care of different awareness campaign when it's come to climate crisis and different SDGs, now I have hopes from just the young ones, the youth, because I feel like we should not waste more efforts, towards the people who have already a mindset towards how things are going, rather than the young ones, to which we can actually change the mindset and we can create a ripple effect. So we are putting our effort over there. It's not just we can rely on anyone. When we feel like something is going wrong as an individual, it's our right to take action towards it. Find a like-minded people and collaborate and help and bridge. I really, really believe in small efforts, small steps. It means a lot. It creates a lot of difference. And, when Dr. Asma was discussing that she has started her startup and what's her vision behind it and how she's actually doing to bring change. And that was pretty exciting thing for me to be part of. And I really, really hope that Dr. Asma will keep me in loop, and I'm always in with Dr. Asma, and we will just run that ship. Thank you, Dr.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So right, you are, Mahin. And I think this is us, obviously, that we are messing out with our, our environment. Once we witnessed, we are, continuously creating disaster to our species of our climatic of these environmental conditions. Once we witnessed, we were visiting our Karachi coastline with our team students, and there were bulldozers all over there to, creating mess over the topography of the, French beach. So Dr. Alia raised the voice against these anthropogenic activities, that all the, natural resources are there. These are very precious, and they are totally, evacuate from these type of activities, which were their own, to provide ease to their children, or all these things. So we were very much in, grief situation, that we collect these seaweeds and we do a lot of research work. We try to transform into our research to different products, which can, which can be presented in front of different investors or industrialists. But how can we, next time we can gather all these natural flora or fauna of the particular area? So this is us, what we are doing. We are continuously cutting down the mangroves from the Sindh coastline, which are the first line of defense for these kind of, hurricanes and tsunamis. So there is a need to educate people, to the educationists as well. Not do these kind of things. Don't do this. So these kind of platforms I want to establish, and national and international collaborations with us, and we can find out different solution to these kind of any happenings towards our natural environment. They are creating mess to the natural flora and fauna of the community. So I think Mark will join us in other activities as well, and we want to collaborate with your organization as well, Mark. And together we can do something like WomenAscension or Aquapreneur. Mark, he's doing very well, to cope up all these problems which are facing just because of political, influence towards the local people and local community. So these platforms will provide some sort of solutions, and in collaboration with Maheen, I want to request you to please join hands with us, and we can create or we can hold some types of boot camps to educate our researchers to build up their innovative ideas, and how can we nurture these ideas, and how can we educate them to pitch in front of different influential persons. So Maheen,
definitely, Dr. Asma,
yeah,
it was my pleasure. My pleasure. In fact, I can't wait to start with such initiative, because we both feel like it has a huge gap, and we would be there to support such causes. Dr. Asma, Mr.
Thank
Mark
you.
wants to add something. Can we?
Mm-hmm. Mark is there?
Yes. Maheen, I agree with you completely. There's no contradiction between what we as individuals or a community can do, even though they may be small, whether it be recycling, guarding the natural resources, as Dr. Asma just said, preventing their destruction, abuse, overfishing, or whatever it is. All those are important, but it's society that needs to take the responsibility, right? It's the governments that we have elected that have failed to act, that may be thoroughly rife with corruption, which they are in the US, and I've read about some stuff happening in Pakistan. I think in so many of these governments, people get in power and they're just after themselves, and they forget where they came from, organizations that they promise things to, etc. And you're right, education is so important. That's the beginning. Without that education, people cannot be mobilized into action. And yes, we do need to rely on ourselves. I just read about massive algal farms that are being constructed that will help feed the world. But we're also eating further and further down the food chain, right? They're talking about using krill and figuring out some human food based on them. Efforts to produce mealworms, which are a great source of protein, whatever. All of these are important, but until we change a society that is driven by profits for the few, a society where a minority rules all of us, until we change that, our efforts will be minimal because people are told, go for self, right? I'm an individual and I'm going to go and do it for myself and the heck with everybody else. And that needs to change. And that needs to change as part of a movement. More than 50 years ago, we had the first Earth Days in the US and around the world. And where have we gone from there? What has really changed? Things have gotten so much worse on most levels. And it's because those demonstrations haven't been big enough, that we have not mobilized and educated enough. So I agree with you, Maheen, that we need to do both, from individual action to the very important collective action.
So true. I want our students to take part in this conversation as well. We do have a lot of students, and anyone want to contribute or want to share their experience, the floor is open. Yes, students of psychology, do you want to share?
Hello, Asma. It is basically our social responsibility. Okay, we have to change our lifestyle. We are throwing the trashes near the nearby sea, our domestic waste, untreated domestic, industrial waste, agriculture waste directly into the ocean. So we are doing ourselves. We are destroying the oceans. Exactly. And in return, we are getting the mercury, arsenic, and others in form of the pollutants in the fish and other organisms. So this is our responsibility.
Absolutely right,
we are
Dr.
not
Lela.
fulfilling. We are not fulfilling our responsibilities. No, cutting the mangroves and everything, for activities.
So how can we, initiate a campaign?
It should be the collective effort, and we have to take on board the government, the institutions, or the private sector, because we have deficient funds. Always we have problems like that. So we need to take all of them on board.
So we should take some, so true. We can take these kind of initiatives, small initiatives, these kind of awareness seminars or campaigns or in-person, campaigns we can
even
run.
The practical efforts.
Yes, in practicality. So right. Yes, thank you, Dr. Lela. Anyone else? Anyone, our student? We do have our student from Azad Kashmir as well. So, Khwaja, do you want to share your views? Or from University of Karachi students? So, Dr. Alia, how can we conclude this? What would be our next move? As you know, I always believe in practicality and to finalize anything.
Yes, Dr. Asma, you are absolutely right. And of course, we need to do something. We need to take some practical steps towards this, whether they are very minute or small steps, doesn't matter. But everybody has to do their part. And it's just not okay to just sit and talk about it. We have to move ahead and we have to take part actively to do something about it. And I would strongly recommend our young generation, our students, to come ahead with new ideas, with new thoughts of how we can control this massive destruction that is taking place. And as you had just said, that what we had witnessed at the seaside once when the bulldozers were going, I was so heartbroken at that, because that's the site we've been working on for nearly 3 decades. And they were completely destroying that place just because the people living close to those areas, or the affluent people, could use that as a beach area instead of it as a growing ground for our seaweeds. But we did raise voice against it, and I think it worked to a certain extent. That I saw next time that it had kind of stopped, and do a little bit about raising our voices against all this that is happening. It will work. It will work. We just should not keep mum about it and sitting. Nobody is doing anything. We have to do our bit. And this is what I want to give a message to all the students, all the participants of this seminar, that let's do our bit. Let's not just sit and talk about it, but go ahead and do our bit, so that we can say that we have contributed towards this cause. And in the long run, it will somehow work out. I'm a very optimistic person, and I feel things will become better if we all collectively work towards it. Thank you, Asma.
Sure, Dr. Alia, you are so right. And I think we should not wait to take action, and we should not wait to other people to take action. We need to do ourselves. One of our students want to say something, I think Hira. There is a direct message from Hira side that I want to ask. Country like Pakistan is blessed with coastal areas, but still lack in algal cultivation industry. Yes, so true. Want we as a student do in this to promote, to introduce seaweed cultivation? So Dr. Alia, do you want to say something?
Yes, Asma. Well, we have been trying for the longest of time to get someone to fund us for algal cultivation, because algal cultivation is not an easy job. And especially if you want to cultivate seaweeds. We need investors to come in and do this for us. But unfortunately, as you have also seen, we have asked many people, we have talked to many people, even industrialists who show their interest in the beginning and then they back out. And they have not come forward to do this, because this is something we have been trying for the last 30 years. Since I was a student of Dr. Mustafa Shameel, he also was an active person who wanted to do this, but could not achieve it. And even to this day, I feel maybe our next generations will. And I'm hopeful that this will one day become Pakistan, or Karachi coast will one day be cultivating their own seaweeds.
Inshallah, hope for the best. And I'm very much hopeful that if we all join together, then we can bring some change in the mindset of our stakeholders. Yes, Mark, you are right. Let's begin to mobilize our youth, scientists, and workers. Why not from this forum? Why not from now? So our next move would be we can write blogs, we can share our thoughts in social media platforms and different these kind of activists. We can raise our voice because this is our future. We are doing for ourselves. So we are destroying ourselves in these kind of illegal activities or heartbreaking activities as well. So technically, I think it was a nice conversation and very fruitful. So I would request Mark as well to join hands with us, and we can take another, as Mark mentioned, that we can start mobilizing our youth and students on the Earth Day, and we can celebrate it at different forums. And inshallah, Aquapreneur will bring another program on this, and we can take the views of different stakeholders as well in this climate change activity. I would like to invite Syed Ibrahim. He's representing Research Draft. Can you please, Ibrahim, say something on this climate change? And I want also you to please share your organization, what you are doing. Ibrahim, are you there?
He needs to unmute, I think.
Mark, do you want to say something?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay.
Hello, everyone. As far as the climate change and its effects on the country, especially in the global south, is concerned, I believe that the youth, that the upcoming youngsters who are going to be participating in the economies are having a better view of climate and its effects as their predecessors. Recently, I had been studying a report by Deloitte about the changing thinking of youngsters in the 21st century, especially the millennials. And the survey carried out by the company found out that more than 53% of youngsters in Australia are now concerned about the environment more than they are concerned about their living costs. So this is a stark difference as compared to the previous generations, which had been more engulfed in the advantages of the industrial revolution that it beheld for the humanity. And in those glamours of progress, the idea of negative impacts that these activities are having on the climate were ignored. Also, with the enhancement in the impacts of in assessing the impacts of climatic change, the technology that has surfaced in the recent years, it has also led us to know about the greater impacts that are of the human activities that is this world is going through. And I believe that the youth and the upcoming generations, which would be coming up and participating in the day-to-day economy, would be more concerned about this, and we should definitely hope for the best from them. Although I am not a subject expert in climate and climatic change yet, it is an issue of highlighted importance, and this issue has been given even more coverage in the last 10 years. Toyota, for example, plans to go to 100% renewable energy powered cars by 2030. Which I believe is something nice to be considered, given all the impacts of climatic change and climate and the environment. However, a lot of effort needs to be undertaken by other industries as well, not only the transport sector, but the hospitality industry, the tourism, most importantly, the industrial manufacturing sector, which largely uses crude oil and petroleum products for generation of power. With that being said, I would like to introduce Research Draft. I'm representing Research Draft in this webinar, which is a counseling and facilitation service for for young researchers. And let me give you a brief introduction. If you are able to view my screen, I have mentioned some services which are being provided by ResearchDraft. This is basically a new organization which has been founded keeping in mind the difficulties students face, especially research students who face difficulties in their academic careers. ResearchDraft is basically a counseling service which provides trainings, seminars, and coaching skills and coaching for students who are new in the field of research and are looking to produce research in various subjects. More importantly, the climatic change and environment, but our services are not limited to these subjects. We are hosting a number of consultants and teachers, professors, trainers who are well versed in research skills, since academic research is the main part of higher studies, as well as universities, where it is a mandatory requirement in starting from master's to MPhil and onwards in PhD to produce research. Something that we had noticed before the formation of ResearchDraft was that students, although are able to easily able to study and give their exams in their earlier stages of academic life, but as they proceed towards the higher levels and are faced when they are faced with producing research on their own, a lot of difficulties are faced by them. The most important issue that is being faced by students is the lack of proper guidance that they need in order to define what exactly is the purpose of their research, what are the underlying problems that need more research from them, and how to present that research in an authentic and a presentable manner. So ResearchDraft, in this respect, is offering one-on-one coaching services for those young researchers who are not yet equipped with the required skills needed to produce research. Our one-on-one coaching services are not limited to a single subject. They encompass a variety of subjects provided to with reference to the vast number of counselors and mentors that we have on our panel. So if any of the students who are right now attending this webinar or other students as well, we would be shortly starting our marketing campaign and reaching different universities and students as well. So any of those students who are interested in having one-on-one coaching sessions from us, they can contact us and they can subscribe to our services. The one-on-one coaching service is the flagship program of ResearchDraft because it provides person-to-person, face-to-face training for all those students who are at any stage of their research. So whether it is a research ideation proposal or if they need if they need to know how to conduct the research methodology, how to look into different literature and produce a literature review, or a generic data analysis and a statistical analysis that is provided to further support the research. All of those elements that are included in any standard university research or a research thesis are looked after by ResearchDraft, and we can provide face-to-face sessions for them, either physical or online. Secondly, ResearchDraft also organizes research workshops for such students to give them a generic overview of the requirements of any research that has to be undertaken at an academic level. We plan to connect with the various universities and organizations in this regard. And we are looking forward to enlightening students and giving them that basic knowledge which equips them with the necessary skills to produce an authentic research. We have found, after working with different universities, and I have also been associated with different research projects since last 10 years. And we have found that there is a gap, an academic gap that exists between research supervisors and their students, since every individual research undertaken by a student is unique in its own way. It has its own challenges, its own obstacles, and given its unique nature, every research document or every research draft brings out different results, which can then be used by others, and further research can be undertaken over them as well. So our workshops aim to provide and equip students with those specific skills which are required to produce a good piece of research that is acceptable with regards to academic standards, as well as recognizable, and aids in providing more authentic research and valuable research to the academic circles. The paper review service is also one of the small features that is included in our program and can be subscribed individually as well. The paper review service allows students to have their papers reviewed before they have proceeded to the final submission with their respective universities. With the help of this service, although the results are not guaranteed, but the subject experts, professors in some cases, can anonymously review those papers to look into the quality of references provided, the overall structure of the research, the word and sentence construction, the presentation of the proposal, and the whatever conclusions have been derived from the research. Okay. Viva Preparation is also a similar service provided by Research Draft. Once the research has been conducted and presented, the students are also required in the universities to present them to their supervisors, and in many cases a panel of judges. So apart from preparing students from documenting the draft, carrying out the research, and analyzing their results, the Viva Preparation equips students for their communication skills and their presentation skills in front of their superiors, and how can they confidently represent their results or in an oral form, whether it is in form of a presentation or in form of a speech or other means.
Okay, finally, that's great. That's great, Said Ibrahim. And I think you are going to minimize the burden of supervisors. You are providing facilitation to the researchers as well. And thank you very much to collaborate with us in this webinar and to contribute to this important topic. And we will get in touch with you in our upcoming programs as well. So I think we have only 5 minutes left to wind up this webinar. And Amara and Mark want to say something. So please, final comments from your side, Mark.
First of all, I want to thank you all again for inviting me. It's been educational. I do want to hear a lot more about the entrepreneurial campaigns that all of you are involved in. We know the problems. We have the research. There's more research going on. There's research every day in every country in the world that says there's a problem. What we have also are the solutions. Humanity has the solutions, whether it be to overfishing, ocean acidification, climate change, you name it, the solutions are there. The problem is they are not being implemented by the powers that be, whether that be because of the power of the corporations, governments that are run and controlled by oil companies, they're paid off and bought by the oil companies or other corporations. That's what exists here in the United States. Our answer has got to be to mobilize all of us, starting with the young people. I agree with those comments completely. It is the young generation that is most concerned now with climate change more than any other issue. We must tap into that passion because this is a planet that they will inherit, and it'll either be livable or it won't be livable. And that will be determined by our collective action. Lastly, I want to say that we have to make sure that we don't get caught into the trap that the media tries to do here. And that is to pit environmentalists against workers who are looking for jobs. Or they tell workers, well, if we implement this environmental concern, like switching from coal to solar, you're going to lose your job. And they pit environmentalists against those of us who are fighting for environmental change. And nothing could be further from the truth. Coal and oil production involves very few people. It will always be with us. But there's so much more job potential in solar panels, wind, and all the other forms, geothermal, the forms of energy that can help replace fossil fuels. So we need to appeal to those workers and say there are more jobs here, not less. Thank you. Again, I look forward to collaborating with all of you in the future. I've posted my email and we'll be in touch. And if there's anything we can do to help joint campaigns, we are all on board.
Thank you, Mark. And absolutely right. This platform would provide the startup founders to create multiple jobs and to provide these kind of opportunities to those who are seeking jobs. The slogan of our campaign would be, we don't want to transform the mindset of our young innovators that they want to seek job. No, they want to create job for others as well. So at the end, Amara, I think you raised your hand if you want to share something. So we have 1 minute left. Otherwise, I would take Ms. Maheen for the concluding remarks.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yes, Amara.
Ma'am, I have a question
Yes.
How can we overcome our pollution or other problems without government or any funding?
Yes.
Is there any solution for the pollution we are creating without any NGO or on an individual basis we can do for the betterment of our society?
Yes, you are right, Amara, that how long we can wait for the government to take actions. Why not we take initiatives at our own? Or anyone other want to reply this question of Amara? So you are welcome. Mark, do you want to say? Dr. Alia?
Maybe someone else would like to respond first. I've talked too much.
Okay, I just want to reply to Amara as to her question. Amara, we as people, as individuals, have to do our bit. Everybody, every small thing that you can do it. Don't think it's too small. Everything, every little effort will count. If you see anybody throwing a cup out of the car, you have to tell them that this is not done. If you see anybody throwing garbage around you, tell them that they have to pick it up. Small things can be done, which will be our contribution. So we have to do that. nothing is too small or nothing is too big. Your little contribution may add up and be a huge thing for this country. So do it. Everybody has to do their bit. And in the end, inshallah, we will overcome this.
Inshallah. I totally agree. Yes, Amara.
Thank you so much, ma'am. And I want to share idea about digital pollution. So we always get so many emails or messages which are not, which we don't delete, or they are just stored. So I want to tell everyone, kindly go through your emails or messages and don't scroll Facebook or any other apps without need, because they are also creating so many digital pollution which is affecting our environment. Thank you.
So true.
Amara, I would like to say that I am more than willing. You sound like the type of student we need to change the world, that I will organize a Zoom call with young people here from Los Angeles, with young people that you are involved in or environmental group. I posted my email in the chat, so please contact me and we will set that up. The time difference is fine. It is 12 hours, so it is only 9:30 in the morning here. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mark. And a very kind gesture you have shown to us. And inshallah, we will do something collectively. Collective efforts can do great impact towards what we want to do. So at the end, I would like to invite Maheen. Please share some concluding remarks and then we can sign out from this webinar.
Thank you, Dr. Asma. First of all, I would like to thank you first for this initiative. It was lovely, lovely session. Thank you for letting us know, Mr. Mark. We have Dr. Alia with us. A lovely meeting with them as well. We have a great amount of youth listening to us, and I really hope that they would believe at the small, little things which matters the most. And hopefully they will join us with our awareness campaigns, on ground, maybe virtual with us, and we will do more regarding this problem and we will solve it soon. I have really hope with this. Thank you, Dr. Asma.
Thank you very much. And I must say our young generations and those who are with us today to convey this message to your friends and family and others, and join us in our upcoming sessions. And very soon we will announce another program on this important issue of climate change. Thank you very much. I'm signing out from the Professor Dr. Mustafa Shameel Memorial Webinar. Thank you very much for all your participation, and especially Mark. Thank you so much. You have joined early in the morning at your end. Thank you very much. Thank you, Dr. Alia.
Thank you, all of you. It's been my pleasure. Let's continue this conversation and action together.
Thanks. Thank you, Dr. Lala, for joining us. Thank you, all the students. Bye-bye.
Thank you. It was great joining the session.
Thank you. Thank you.
I hope to see some of you in Cuba. We will make that a possibility to present to the world what you are doing.
Let's go together, yes. I think.
Yes.
Inshallah, we'll see you soon.
Yes, you and a young person. Take care. Bye.